better run, you better run. There's a man who fears no one, no one. Run, you better run, you better run. And if he finds you, you'll be done, done. Hello everyone and welcome back to Killing Time with Kayla. We took a break last week because it was Turkey Day, and to be honest, I just didn't feel like editing on Thanksgiving, and since all of this is kind of in my hands, I figured y'all could wait a week. I hope all of you did have a great Thanksgiving though. I did. I went back to Alabama, which is where my foster family lives. For those of you who don't know, I was raised in Texas, or I was born in Texas, and then I moved to Alabama when I was like 9 years old. A little rural town, rural, it's a hard word to say. Rural town called Wadley. It's in the middle of nowhere, but some of the best people you could ever meet live there. And yeah, it was a really good time to see all of the family. I did last week, if you remember the week before Thanksgiving's episode, we did a Thanksgiving gourmet gore where I was in the kitchen with my apron and I was making you guys some recipes that are standard in Thanksgiving, like mashed potatoes or charcuterie boards or some apple pie, and I gored them up a little bit. I will tell you, my family didn't allow me to bring these to the table at my Thanksgiving, but they did let me be in charge of something else that was equally as horrific to attempt to make. And I'm sure all of you who spend time on the internet know exactly what I mean when I say this. I did Teeny's macaroni and cheese. And I am willing to bet that 95% of you attempted to do the same thing as well. The horrifying part was being unable to find those little corkscrew noodles. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce them here on this episode.
It's always going to be cavatappi pasta.
But you know what I'm talking about. They're like little corkscrews, and Teeny says you want those because all the cheese gets all locked up in there and every bite is just super ooey gooey cheesy, and who doesn't want that? But I found some that are similar to that, and then me and one of my older sisters, Beth, went to town in the kitchen. I can't believe my dad allowed us to cook in the kitchen on Thanksgiving Day, but we did, and we nailed it. Normally my dad does his mac and cheese very Southern. Everybody knows your Velveeta government cheese with some elbow macaroni and just a little bit of milk and you're good to go. It is solid. It is foolproof. It never disappoints. But we elevated it this year with Teeny's mac and cheese, and this is the sound that it made when we were done. Yeah, so you know the deal. So anyway, successful. Wasn't as horrific as it could have been, but overall had a great Thanksgiving, and I hope all of you did too. And then right after Thanksgiving, on Thanksgiving night, I went to the Atlanta airport, which by the way was a ghost town. I highly recommend traveling through the airports on holidays because there's nobody in there. And ended up flying to Charlotte, North Carolina, where I then drove to Winston-Salem, which is not the same as Salem, Massachusetts, which is where I thought I was going when I first got booked for WrestleCade. And I got really excited because what horror fan doesn't love Salem, Massachusetts? Winston-Salem, I don't need to go back there, but I had a great time at WrestleCade. Thanks to all of you who came by my booth over Saturday and Sunday. A lot of you guys picked up some Killing Time with Kayla stickers and gave me some words of encouragement on the show, so I do appreciate all of that. But it is post-Thanksgiving. We were rocking and rolling to the holiday season. As you can see, my Grinch tree, my boyfriend got this for me. Christmas is his favorite holiday. Halloween is mine, and he goes all out for me for Halloween, and he still appreciated my level of, or I guess lack of appreciation for Christmas. And so he got me this little grump tree. Isn't she cute? And this is probably the only Christmas decor that's going up in my apartment this year. But it is very much appreciated. Hope you appreciate it too. But let's get right in. This is episode 5. Can't believe we've done this for 5 episodes. It was really scary to get this going because starting something from nothing is not easy, but I've been seeing the same ones of you coming back week after week, and we're only going to get better, I promise. But this episode is going to be fun because we're kind of going back to what we discussed before the break. And we're going to kick things off with our first segment, and check the new graphics, y'all. This is Real Talk. So before the break, we talked about a recent release, and that was Strange Darling. I encourage all of you to give it a watch. I only recently watched it maybe like a month ago, but it follows a one-night stand that turns into a murder spree. I mean, what one-night stand couldn't turn into a murder spree? So the plot unfolds during the one-night stand of 2 characters known as only the Lady, played by Willa Fitzgerald, and the Demon, played by Kyle Gallner. Now, the character name on the title cards, if you go to the beginning of the film, they throw out these title cards, and it's one of the first instances of playing on our expectations, because when it comes to horror movies, cat and mouse horror movies, we've seen these dozens and dozens of times. They all kind of end to where our expectations think they will end. But we knew very early that this was revealing this is going to be the story of a serial killer. But who was going to be the serial killer? Well, we didn't know at that point. And spoiler alert, I'm saying spoiler alert, so you can't get mad at me for spoiling the movie for you. The woman is a serial killer in this situation. So, bam! But here's the cool thing about playing on our expectations when it comes to these kind of movies, is that Willa's character, who is ultimately the murderer in this, isn't like this like sociopathic or psychopathic serial killer. She's a little schizophrenic. She basically sees her victims prior, and she looks at them, and then they turn into a demon, as we saw at the beginning of the movie, Kyle being called the Demon. And then she realizes, oh, I have to kill this demon. I think in her mind, she's doing something for the greater good. However, in her victim's mind, Kyle in this example, who played the Demon, who was actually an undercover cop, he just thought this bitch was like batshit crazy. She was just trying to murder him. And so we saw that, and the strength in this film really lies in, again, manipulating the stereotypes of man and woman. I've gone, through my fair share of dates over the years, and there are times that I thought that maybe I was going to be the victim of a serial killer. And I'm sure there's times that the people I was on dates with thought that maybe I was going to be the serial killer, based on probably the extent of horror movie fan fiction I discussed during our day. But even in the preview, you see a beautiful woman. She's covered in blood, running from a man with a gun. So clearly it must be a predator chasing down a woman. But wrong. But what was really cool about J.T. Mulner, who was the writer and director of this, he even said he didn't even want to make this movie unless he could do something very unique that stood apart from the stereotypes of typical cat and mouse horror movies. He said in an interview, "There are so many great horror films that are better than anything I could ever make because they're just so perfect that I felt like unless we could find a different angle and turn things inside out, there's no reason to do it." He said he was excited because it seemed like, oh, this is a way to play with people's expectations and assumptions. And he did a really good job at that. It's one of the top movies of 2024 when it comes to horror and thriller. I didn't know what was going to happen until the end credits ran. So like literally you're at the edge of your seats until the final credits. And then, I spoiled enough of this movie for you. Not enough for you to make it to the end, so go watch it. Come back to me. Let me know what you think. It is streaming on Amazon Prime and Apple TV. But I do want to hear from you guys. I mean, in this crazy world of dating, which I'm glad I'm not a part of anymore, because it was stressful, and it was a lot of times scary. We're seeing stories in the news and the media every other day about something that goes sideways on people in these first dates. But I want to hear about you. Any like one night stands or like initial dates you've been on with someone where you literally maybe thought, this could be the end of my existence tonight? Or have you been on a date where you thought, while the person sitting across the table from you, that this may be the end of their existence tonight? You know what I mean? Because the date was just, yeah, you get it. But anyway, let me know what you think about that movie. Send me your stories. You can email me at kayla@killingtimewithkayla.com. I should really shorten that, but it has all the information in there. kayla@killingtimewithkayla.com. And I might feature your story on one of the upcoming episodes. Now it's time for Keeping It Real. Again, check out this graphic. I love it. Okay, so this is obviously the part of the show where we like to discuss movies that have a little controversy surrounding them. And a lot of you have reached out to me and asked me to discuss this movie. And again, one of the top movies of 2024. I might even go so far as saying it is the top movie for me of 2024. And that is The Substance. Ooh, that movie hit me in all different types of places. Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley, Dennis Quaid. Demi's playing Elizabeth Sparkles. She's a renowned aerobics teacher, and she faces this devastating blow on her 50th birthday as her boss, Dennis Quaid, who, by the way, his name in the movie was Harvey. Yeah, I see what you did there. But he fired her, said she was past her prime. But amidst all of her heartbreak on being let go for being old, by the way, Demi Moore has had it from the beginning of her career, and she still has it. So the fact she played this role was really interesting, and I can only imagine how much of like, I would love to have been next to her while she was on set and learning her lines and trying to create this character for herself and understand like how much of this actually probably affected her on a personal level throughout her long career in Hollywood. Because I mean, things have changed a lot. I can only imagine what it was like coming up in Hollywood as a woman, as beautiful and as talented as her when she first came up through Hollywood and to now. So I feel like this was probably a really personal and for full circle moment for Demi. So the drug that she takes, it requires her to split her time between her current body and her younger body 1 week at a time. The logline for the film reads, a fading celebrity takes a black market drug, a cell-replicating substance that temporarily creates a younger, better version of herself. And the younger, better version of herself was played by Margaret Qualley, who was... But here's the issue, you know? At one point, her character started trying to cheat the system a little bit. She was loving being in the young, hot, popular, loved, and wanted body too much, and then she would start extending the amount of time that she was out of her regular body. And then, of course, all hell breaks loose. She does this all the way to her demise. It's funny with Dennis Quaid. His performance, he's got one of those performances that just makes you like really squirm in your seat. And he's not necessarily, I wouldn't call him the villain, but he definitely was like, I saw someone say, he's the physical embodiment of the male gaze. And as a woman, you know what this means at a very basic level. As a woman in entertainment, this probably hits you in an entirely different way. I've worked in entertainment on television for like a decade now, and I'm very much aware of the male gaze and how the men in power choose to utilize you based on how you look and how you act. I don't need to tell you who my former boss was. It wasn't Harvey, but you know. And there were plenty of times during my time working there that I felt like I needed to like sex it up or sexy it up or maybe like be a little friendlier to the people who were in charge. And it's an absolutely disgusting feeling. It's like it's depressing, but we know we all feel like we have to evolve to these beauty standards to impress the Harveys and I'm really trying hard not to say his name. I don't need to say his name. We know exactly who I'm talking about. But it's been really funny that like, not funny, but lately, especially in the media, we've been seeing these photos of these celebrities that we followed for years, for decades, pop back up looking like completely different people. I think beautifully done. But Lindsay Lohan has been one of the top of the conversation lately, how she's kind of come back into the limelight lately and looks the best she's ever looked and probably looks younger than she did 10 years ago. Christina Aguilera looks the best she's ever looked. Looks like she's about to go be recast as her younger self back in Burlesque. Jennifer Coolidge, the list goes on. And also though, it makes me wonder, like maybe it's like this. I walked out of there feeling like almost like this weight lifted off of my shoulders because I'm not working and, on television every single week like I have been for the last decade. It has been a difficult realization that I'm not as young as I was when I first started back then. I'm in my 30s now, and there's times I'm sitting around wondering maybe I should get a little nip tuck or a nose job or some fillers. And then I walked out of there, I'm like, it doesn't matter how much you do to yourself. It doesn't matter if you take this substance and you look 30 years younger and you have an ass that you could bounce a coin off again. It doesn't matter because there's certain people who are in power. It's still not going to make them happy. They're still going to want to replace you, the next best thing. And even if they do think you're at the top of your game, they're not going to let you feel that way. So I've had Botox. It's the only thing I've done on my face. But I'm open in the future. You never know. Like, I definitely don't judge anyone who does things to make themselves feel better about themselves. But I think that is the key, and that is what I took from this movie, is that no matter what you do, whether you get a BBL or a nose job or lip filler or kneecap replacements or leg extensions, or I would get leg extensions. Make sure you're just doing it for yourself. Make sure the only person you're doing it for is you, to make you happy, to make you feel confident, for you to feel beautiful. But don't let any influence from these outside, and I'm almost saying his name, but I don't have to say it, motivate you to do those things. Because at the end of the day, the very last scene was extremely powerful in the substance. And it happened, it was on Hollywood Boulevard, and the movie started and ended on Hollywood Boulevard, which is just down the street from where I live. Watch that scene, and it just all comes together. So what's happening in the world in Hollywood and women and men in power. And what it all boils down to is that at the end of the day, no matter what you do, no matter how much money you spend on bettering your physical appearance, you're going to be erased. So do you want to be erased happy and free? Or do you want to be erased feeling like you never quite made people who didn't matter happy? Yeah. It's a great movie. Definitely top 3 movies of 2024. Okay, now it is time for our final segment, Real Forecast. I hope this graphic makes sense to you. I'm in front of a weather wall that is actually a giant camera, and you can see rain, you can see lightning, and you can see sunshine, which is our different genres of horror. Okay, now that I'm done explaining my graphic, let's talk about a movie that got announced that is coming out. This one was extremely exciting for me for many reasons. Idle Hands is getting a remake. Bum, bum, bum. Sony Pictures announced this. They're working on this remake. It's a 90s cult classic horror comedy. For those of you who haven't seen it, Finn Wolfhard of Stranger Things and Billy Brick, Hell of a Summer, they are rumored to be the ones who are writing and possibly directing this new take on the film. That's pretty much the only information that we have. Those of you who watched the original movie, of course, Devon Sawa, Seth Green, Jessica Alba, they were so perfect playing these roles. But many years have passed, and so I can't. If they're remaking the movie, I would assume they would not be the ones playing the main characters. If it is a continuation of what happens 20 years later, yeah, you never know. I'd love to see them back. Let me tell you a little bit why this movie is so exciting for me. I watched Idle Hands when I was maybe like 6 or 7. I guess when it first came out, because I had older siblings, and Idle Hands was my gateway drug into horror. Now, I know, I went back and rewatched it for the first time since childhood, like last week. And when I watched it, I was like, oh my God, this is so funny. When you're 6 or 7, you're watching that movie about an evil hand that goes rogue, that gets cut off, and then goes around murdering people and ripping off scalps and like putting people through fans and murdering parents. That is terrifying. When I was young and I watched this movie for the first time, I was so scared that the hand was going to crawl through my window at night that I would find like saran wrap and duct tape, and I would duct tape the windows in my bedroom to make sure the hand didn't come and get me. I was so scared, but that was my gateway into horror. It is a comedy, but as a little kid, it wasn't a horror. And it's the first movie I watched. I think my siblings like eased me in to see if I could watch other scary movies. And look where we are today. I am so fucked up. All because of Idle Hands. I even reached out to a connection I have over at Sony and said if there's any role for me to play in this new remake, please, 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 please give it to me. I don't need to be the Jessica Alba. I mean, I will. I will take that on if they want me to. I asked some of you who you thought could potentially be the recast in this, and here are some of the answers that you guys gave me. So Charlie, you said, no one. It's perfect just the way it is, where my initial Jessica Alba crush started. Okay, one thing I will say about all the characters, they all have aged gracefully. None of them needed the substance. And if they took it, they didn't tell us about it. Jessica Alba could just go back and play herself. I agree. But I don't know if she necessarily passed as like a doe-eyed, ditzy high schooler, though, again. But hey, I stand. Courtney, I would still keep Devon Sawa as the main character. Devon Sawa, would you still want to be the main character? We had a little Twitter exchange, and it sounds like your answer to that may be like, nah. But give the people what they want. They want Devon Sawa as the main character. We want to see you chop off your hand again, Devon. Flynn said Finn Wolfhard. Well, we already mentioned that he is going to be a part of the film. Is he going to be in the film? We don't know. He actually would be. I think he'd be a phenomenal actor in this. But if he's writing and directing, that could be a lot for him to take on. But I'm Aubrey Plaza. Aubrey Plaza. Okay, again, we got to think about like new actors, high school age. These are all phenomenal actors, but I don't think they can get away, and they all look great and young, but I don't know if they can get away with playing high schoolers. Ashton Kutcher. Okay, once again, guys, Aaron, you're not understanding what I'm trying to say. Great actors. Unless this movie is fast forward to what their lives are as adults, I don't think any of them will be getting cast in the remake. But if they did, I would still watch it. But yes, Idle Hands. Excited to see that. But guys, that is this week, episode 5 of Killing Time with Kayla. I hope I gave you guys some things to think about. Again, go back and watch Strange Darling. Watch The Substance. Watch The Substance a second time. Watch the third time. And let's all get excited for Idle Hands. And go back and rewatch the first one, because I have a feeling a lot of you probably saw it when you were a kid and maybe it was a little scary. And then now watching it as an adult, it's I giggled a lot. But thank you guys for watching. Be sure, as always, follow Killing Time with Kayla on social media. I'm going to be doing some giveaways soon. We have stickers. As you can see, I'm wearing a toboggan. Or, I'm sorry, a beanie. We call it, this is a toboggan in the South. I don't know if any of you guys agree. This is a toboggan in the South. It's a toboggan's not a sled. A sled is a sled. This is a toboggan. I've been making some sweatshirts. So hopefully soon enough, as this audience continues to grow, I'll be able to give back to you guys. But appreciate you. And until then, I'll see you next time. See ya.